step back. I'm mad that when I come down straight, I thought you were my piece, but you play me out. Now I'm mad as hell, and I'm full of doubt. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Back on the scene, it's time to get mean. I'm a lean revolution machine. For what people stay, they sway. For today is good as any day. Y'all feel slightly this, let's resist. Raise your fist and pump like this. Promises all the time. Don't cross the line, and you know it's mine. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll.
Product placement. If you don't pay us, you get no placement. Pay to play.
Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with?
Waxy Brown.
Let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with?
Waxy Brown.
Let's roll.
Woo. Come on, guy.
Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Let's see. Let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with?
Waxy. Let's roll.
Who you wanna roll with? 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 Who you wanna roll with?
Huh. Good evening, everybody. It's Thursday night. Did I send the link out to everybody? I hope I did. We started late, so I'm sure people are going to be coming in late. Crazy week. Crazy week. We had rescheduling this week. We didn't have descheduling, we had rescheduling. And the only good thing about rescheduling is that our insurance may be able to cover our cannabis from now on. That'll get me out to a dispensary, which is, if you got good rosin, I'll come out there. Like a gram for like $5. I'm all over it. My insurance needs to cover it though. I need help. That would help me greatly. I spend a lot of money on weed, and so does Jim Miller. Miller knows all that money on weed.
Yes, he does.
What the hell is that? You?
What?
What? Huh?
No, I mean, is that? Well, first of all, it might be
Is that
me.
you? Is that me?
If you mean you, me, but
Yeah, we're hearing some really nasty
feedback.
It sounds like a bad wire. Is your wire plugged in all the way?
All lefty wires are bad because they're from 20 years ago.
I might have some bad wires. I can't really hear you too well though.
What's going on?
yeah, I hear the interference.
It's that.
I hear static.
It's that one.
Yeah, it's not on my end.
Yes.
The headphone?
No, it's a microphone there. It was making noise. How about now? Is it better now?
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, that's better. I mean, you're low. You're actually low in the mix, though.
Hello.
You're a little low.
Hello.
There you go.
I had to turn the microphone.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I told you. You got to speak
That-
right into the microphone.
That's your sweet spot right there. Yeah, there we go.
Hello.
Hello, Governor. Hey, Governor. Yeah, so Jim, we had a very interesting week with rescheduling. And I think the only good thing about rescheduling is that our insurance may soon pick it up. And that would get me out to a dispo. As long as they have good rosin, I'm happy.
Well,
I will go to a dispensary that has good rosin if my insurance pays for it.
The bill that we testified at now coming up.
Hold on, Jim. Say that again. I'm sorry.
Hello. Onomatopoeia. Can you hear me now?
I'm sorry. I'm having a bad day. Gotcha.
Well, don't spread it around, man. The fuck?
I'm sorry, man.
We're not.
I told you it's this wire over here. I ain't even touching none of that.
Whoa.
You buying stuff from China again?
I can switch that wire out. Hold on. All right, you guys host the show. Ready? Go.
Ready to go. Yes, Schedule 3. Well, that means that after 50 years, the DEA is finally letting go of the rope.
Yeah, as soon as I sat down and I grabbed the headphone,
But
started hearing.
shouldn't this set an example for Senator Scutari to let the patient home grow bill be heard? Because now it's just growing something that's, less dangerous than pharmaceuticals. And, it's not too much of a stretch to make that connection. And also that a bill that passed unanimously out of committee last session, I don't know, it's in committee now, not being heard yet. That would allow pharmaceutical for the aged and disabled to pay for it. Not only would allow them to, they'd have to. And yes, now without it being a federal Schedule 1, insurance companies will have to pay for it.
Then I'll fix it.
So hell yeah. That means a lot. How do we get the apology from the DEA, though, is what I'm wondering. How do we get that apology from the DEA?
Hello?
Ooh, that sounded good.
Now we're good.
Had resonance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
That's much better.
It's much better now.
Yes.
So, yeah, descheduling is...
Yeah. Insurance, if it's not Schedule 1 and not even Schedule 2, why wouldn't insurance cover it in a state where they operate, it's operating within state guidelines, and the state that they're operating in here, New Jersey, says that prescription drugs and cannabis should be treated on par when it comes to making such decisions. And that's why that bill to allow PAAD and Senior Gold to pay for it should be coming real quick. I mean, this is going to be like, okay, why not fast track it now that the DEA is saying, fuck yeah, we were wrong, and that Nick Scutari's got to realize that his time's limited for not letting go of his rope for medical homegrown. And, it's taken the DEA 50 years to even consider doing anything. And Scutari's spent 3 years not considering having a hearing for a bill that now is not about a Schedule 1 substance. There's really little room. I guess the question is really for Scutari and Herb Connolly and some others, will you go on record saying you think you're good with New Jersey saying that cannabis and prescription drugs should be treated the same when making, decisions about them? So if it would be okay for PAAD to pay for more dangerous drugs like Schedule 2 drugs, they're more dangerous and they're paying for them. So, it's time. And that's huge. Because let's see, when is New Jersey going to say okay to home grow for patients? As soon as it starts costing them money, and it's going to cost them money when they have to pay for the price that patients have been paying, subsidized through PAAD. Yeah, that shit's going to change quick. So I think the all-out push, especially for PAAD, because it's aged and disabled and senior gold. I mean, isn't that what we're all about? New Jersey? Man. So it's time to fast track them. This is the same bill that passed unanimously that we testified at. And it's in committee now, I guess. I haven't really kept up to date as I should. But I'm pretty excited about that. I mean, we have a little bit of a higher ground with which to base our offense and our defense. The DEA admitted they're wrong. Why can't you? Crap. Come on. Stuff like that. This is how your common person is going to see it too. It's sort of like, well, of course it should be paid for now. Especially when you make them spend that kind of money on something, patients. Yeah, this is going to be very interesting. I'm looking forward to it. Now, I know there's going to be all sorts of drawbacks. Yes, descheduling would have been great. So I don't want to take another fucking decade to do that and stay where we are now until then. So mark me down as happy, all for it, and I understand it's going to be 60 days to 2 months. That's time to have a hearing and get this shit voted on. Yeah.
It'll all be before the election, so that's what they want.
Oh yeah, this is definitely going to be before that, and Sleepy Joe's going to get some sort of credit because you get blamed, you get credit when you're president, and
well, Jim, you should hear the conservatives on the radio. They're freaking out. They're like, "Oh, my kid's going to smell weed now, and we're the country's
really
going to ruin." I'm like, "What?
Really?
What?"
Like, I don't know. They're just like squawking, you know. That's all I hear.
That's what I heard too.
What I do want, though, is I want an apology from the DEA. Not me personally. I want them to acknowledge that they took way too long to do this. And I still couldn't believe they took almost 2 years when it came time when they had to do something. I forget what it was. It was one small step. The thing is, there was no time limit on it.
2 years. And when they
to make a decision.
If it's money for them, if it's raises, that happens in like 2 days.
Yeah.
2 years for us, though.
Yeah, that go into effect next week. But us 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is going to be. It's going to be good. We can lead with that. So basically, I'm guessing cannabis is now in the same schedule as there's a cream I had to use for a skin thing. And it had steroid. So now that's in the same class as what I'm smoking, I could be putting on my skin.
Same class as what else? What else? What other classes what are we with now? Well, what are the drugs?
Tylenol with codeine, less than 90 milligrams per dose or something.
Okay.
And anabolic steroids.
Wow, that's pretty serious.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
Yeah, basically cough medicine that you need a prescription for.
Wow. I took some Zyrtec.
There's not that many things in Schedule 3. So
no, New Jersey has its own scheduling for cannabis. One's for marijuana, which is illegal, and cannabis is what now? Schedule.
Well, what's New Jersey going to do now? Are they going to have a tougher scheduling than the federal government when it's New Jersey with the medical marijuana program?
Well, that's a question for the CRC, and I have many questions for the CRC.
Yeah, that's also for the what do you call it? What's the entity that every couple of years or handful of years can petitions or CMNJ petitions them to revisit the Schedule 1. I got some edible kicking in, so
Jim's edible is kicking in just in time for Waxy Brown. What's up, Waxy Brown? How you doing, brother?
How are you guys?
Hey.
How are you?
Awesome. We're smoking a big fat
Good.
blunt right now of what flavor is that?
That's the mix.
He had to put it down. All right, Bear, put the blunt down. That's how bad
Right
we are.
on. I didn't know if I was allowed to smoke on your show or not.
Absolutely.
Sure,
Good.
man. Please do. What are you smoking on?
This is going to be some Trop cherries in a raw cone. But normally I'm a blunt guy, but I'm trying to like move a little bit away from the blunts to try and help those lungs out a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Well, I find that the blunts help my lungs more than that paper does, honestly.
What kind of paper are you
Yeah,
using?
you know, I'd say at least. This is a raw cone, but for blunts, I usually like lately. I've been kind of on those the Swisher Sweet Legend. Have kind of been my thing for a minute.
Well, no advertisement here, but we
What?
use
The chocolate one was the best. What was that one?
all of it.
Yeah, we had a chocolate blunt before. It was amazing. Havana.
Nice.
Havana Leaf. Oh, not that they're a sponsor.
Yeah,
They should be, though.
yeah.
You know all about that, Wax. Tell me about your podcast. You do a podcast out there, right?
Yeah, so I do Waxy Brown's Review, which is our new show that's coming out next month. The last 3 years, I've done Waxy Brown's Flower Power Hour on the FM dial. We're switching over to a podcast format because the FCC is still not being as friendly to us as we want on the FM side. So we're switching over to a podcast format.
Really? What kind of problems are they giving you on the FM side?
Censorship, clearly.
Yeah, so technically right now, until they change it, you know, the word cannabis, the word marijuana, the federal government looks at it as if I'm promoting it. And right now they look at that like heroin, right? So like there's an issue there with the FCC and being able to, the same reason that a lot of cannabis companies are afraid to advertise.
Wow. I thought it was just shock jock. So I guess you're a shock jock, bro.
No, I'm more of a plant-based guy.
Hi,
Yeah.
Waxy.
Yeah, you
I
talked about.
guess that would be like,
No, go ahead. There's a
I
delay.
guess like
I'm
a
sorry.
weed shock jock would be like Howard Stem or something. I don't know what's.
Howard Stem.
That's funny.
That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's a delay, so I can't really. I got to watch the delay here. But yeah, so you're moving to podcasting now, which is a much safer format where you can smoke. I guess you couldn't smoke on the air on FM, right? Or at least talk about it.
That's very correct. That's very correct.
It's funny. We're moving into a dispensary. Our studio is being built inside a dispensary now, and I don't think we're allowed to smoke in there. And it's funny because they're going to have cameras. The New Jersey makes you put cameras all over the dispensary, so I'm not sure how we're going to get away with that, smoking weed at the dispensary. Going to try that.
Yeah, you might have an issue. Like I don't know if it's actually inside their building, you could actually have an issue. Like my studio is also inside inside where a dispensary is, but we've got it blocked off, and I'm inside the head shop part of it, so it's a little safer for us, for those guys.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. I like being in part of a dispensary because you can just roll over there and get some weed and just roll back on your chair and
Yeah, right.
yeah, not to go far.
Now in New Jersey, are you allowed to grow your own cannabis?
No, sir. We did plant. We planted a bunch of weed at the State House, and it wasn't just. It was a bunch of people, and it wasn't just little weed plants. It was mother plants. They planted mother plants so that people can come and take clippings off the mothers, but the state police pulled them up.
Yikes.
Yeah, we don't even allow patients to grow their own. Actually, I think Delaware became the second state to follow our very bad lead to have legalization for 3 years, and still patients not only aren't allowed to grow it, there's been a bill that would allow them to grow 4 mature and 4 immature plants, you know, nothing overwhelming, if anything, just to get a foot in the door. And that hasn't been allowed to have a hearing for 3 years because Senate President won't let it be heard in the Senate. So maybe this session and the assembly just to get it heard. So, that's always been, that's a big sore point with me. It's New Jersey's supposed to be, by their own law, considering decisions about medicine to not be based on whether it was cannabis or prescription drugs. That decisions in that area would be treated as equals. Wouldn't be, well, it's a Schedule 1 drug. So now with it going to be going to Schedule 3, I'm thinking that's going to really loosen the Senate president's grip on not having a hearing for it, for patients to grow what they certainly can't afford. But at the very least, 2 years ago, the Health Committee unanimously referred a bill out of committee that would allow our pharmaceutical for the aged and disabled program, the PAAD program, to pay for medical cannabis. Now that it's Schedule 3, the bulk of what they pay for is much more dangerous officially, federally, than Schedule 2 drugs are much more dangerous than cannabis. So it seems like that one, we would have the right to really insist on fast tracking it, because this is, it's going to happen. It's not like, well, we want to wait 2 more months before that happens. No, let's get the wheels going. It certainly wouldn't be statutorily acted upon in New Jersey before the next couple months, which is, of course, the outside that we're looking at, supposedly. So I'm pretty excited about that, because when the state of New Jersey starts paying through their PAAD program for medical cannabis, they're going to say, what the hell? We got to let them grow it, those who will. And they'd be, of course, making the mistake of thinking that patients would be able to grow their own medicine and never buy any of the strange specific things that they need. They'll grow. But, dispensaries will still get their fair share, just no tax money. So I think it's going to happen for patients.
Here in Missouri, I can grow up to 18 plants myself and up to 18 plants for 3 other individuals that I can care for. So we can grow some pretty big gardens here. But we've also proven that our dispensary program and our medical marijuana and recreational marijuana markets have made more money than most of the states out there. So we've proven that not only can you put the seed into the hands of the people, but you can also make a lot of money through this industry as well.
Yeah, it's funny. You have proven that, but our Senate president doesn't want to look at that. He wants to, well, I'll take a trip to Colorado and figure it out. Like you still have to do things like that. He very well should have to talk with you or somebody that can represent how it is and what is. But I think he's going to cave pretty quick now anyway. It's our governor said, I'm open to the idea of patients growing their own. But when he says he's open to the idea, he doesn't talk about it. He refuses to talk about it. So how open to the idea is that? Perhaps
we call that kicking the can. We call that kicking the can down the road is what that is. Yeah. The federal government is going to roll out legalization in 3 steps over the next 12 months. And you're going to see the first step really quickly. That is the rescheduling of cannabis. The second step is going to be safe banking. It's going to pass. It's going to get through. That's going to help with everything from lending, loans, be able to normalize this industry a lot better for everybody that's in it, as well as the employees themselves. And then the third step is going to be the federal legalization package. The bulk of that package is going to have everything to do with taxation and very little else alone. It's going to start with a 5% tax, and then it's going to end up over a 5-year period at about 12 to 13%. And that way the federal government's getting their ends. But what they're not going to do, they're not going to handle packaging laws. They're not going to they'll handle age gating, saying 21 and up and all that, except for medical markets. But what they won't handle is packaging, home grow, conversations about that will all be left up to the states. So you've got to keep tagging that governor, because what that governor is doing is he's taking that can and he kicks it on down the road for the next guy. That is prohibistic behavior at its best.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be engaged a little more actively. It's just, it doesn't seem like much at first, but the idea of removing that Schedule 1, getting that, as ridiculous as it is. New Jersey has it Schedule 1 as well. Does that mean they're going to reschedule? What bothers me is, what did the DEA learn recently that said, "Oh, now we get it"? No, this is bother. I want a fucking apology, not me. They got to offer some mea culpa here. They have to do that. We're talking about medicine, people living and dying, and it's
I can tell you, not to interrupt, but I can tell you exactly why that happened the way it happened. Several months ago, you had President Biden pressure for a rescheduling or descheduling, or at least have the conversation. The problem you had is that the FDA was completely ready to have that conversation where the DEA was not. So now, about 3 weeks ago, you had the FDA put pressure through letters, emails, and internal and external, pressuring the DEA to make a decision. So the DEA was forced to come to a conclusion quickly. The next part of that is they're going to send that up to Biden's offices of management. They're going to sign off on it, and then it's going to go to the president's desk. It's going to take at most 4 months for that process to go down. After that, and within maybe 60 days before that, we'll land safe banking. By the end of the year, we'll have a recreational bill that will go through. It will go through. And what that bill will do is it will cease the confusion about the DEA and the FDA having their hands in everything and defining everything. And the worries of Big Pharma, though very justified, are not going to be as bad as people think. I think once we have legislation in place that has protections for states, we're in a gravy boat after that. But we have to get there first. We're almost there.
I've read about this. I haven't really done a deep dive into it. I like knowing it's coming. But of everything I read from a standard news point of view, you just totally did the job they didn't. Everything you said could have been a much more informative article than I could find. So I wanted to say, your skills at making it understandable with sound bites are, I'm impressed. I feel like I totally confident in everything you said, and that's maybe because I really want to be confident about it, because
my
makes
background,
sense.
believe it or not, isn't just some deadhead that showed up on your podcast. I've landed decriminalization laws within my state. I've ran for city council in a red district and won with a 78% vote on a cannabis platform. I did 256 days in county jail for 2 pounds of pot here in Missouri. I also had a $300,000 bond that I refused 3 separate times to a judge until cannabis was legal. I've gone through a ringer to where, I was the guy that didn't understand what was happening to me. So it's a pleasure for me to be able to help people understand what's happening to them right now, because it changes the face of us. It literally, not only are they going to legalize us, they're going to legitimize us and give us so much more as activists and advocates to fight for, because this is not legalization that we're looking at. What this is a big decriminalization. We still have a lot of protections to gain.
Yeah, the whole banking issue, I hadn't even really gotten around to thinking about that. That is really, really big.
Well, it's huge for the cannabis industry, because as much as some of these big cannabis companies bother me, there's a lot of the little guys out there, believe it or not, that are doing great things for the patients. The problem they have is they can't operate a regular business, because a regular business can write off everything from gasoline to fuel to all these things. And right now, because we're federally illegal, we cannot utilize that 280E situation. So once that's lifted, these companies are going to be able to operate at a phenomenal rate if they can stay afloat as big pharma and big canna begin to merge. I do think that there's a lot of great people out there who are going to get a lot of benefits out of this legalization. But, there's a lot of cons to this too, because when you recognize something as a medicine, we know who the big guys are that recognize it as a medicine. And that's, Pfizer and the big hospital units and then all these chains that are going to come in and change things around a little bit for us.
And I think I can live that long. Looks like it's going to, I was having my doubts. But, I went to Washington with a friend 13, 14 years ago because Senator Grassley, I forget what committee he's the head of, was dealing with the banking issue. And it was just a curiosity to me. So it was worth the ride down there. And it's 3.5 hours from here. It's not that big a deal. And the arguments were very strong then, to the point where I think he had a certain amount of concerns, like 7, which 5 right off the bat was good, and then he had a couple of things he wasn't sure about. But I was impressed with how it was not just a total shutdown, because it couldn't be, and that was that long ago. So now this is it, it's kind of like there isn't that bell that goes off that says, okay, it's over. I mean, it's never going to be perfect. It's going to always, going to take cleanup bills and laws and things to deal with. But I think it's, everything you said makes sense. I'm going to, assume it can't be stopped either.
One of our major concerns with cannabis as it's sweeping across the United States has been the social equity issues, right? The folks that went to jail for this, the folks that have taken the arrows in the back, they can't get into this industry because it's federally illegal. So there's no loans you can get. It's all alternative loans and all that have extremely terrible interest rates and things that keep the minorities and they keep everyone that should be in this game, that keeps them out of it. So with legalization, what I call soft legalization, or what we're looking at for federal legalization, that's going to come with the ability for banks to be able to reach out to those small mom and pops that want to open a shop and have those better business bureau advantages and have those NAACP grants. And forget about it at this point. Like you guys are in New Jersey. I'm not certain how your social equity plays have gone. When it comes to getting minorities into these dispensaries and grows and all that. But here in Missouri, it's fallen flat on its ass from the very beginning and continues to do so even with our current micro-license social equity plays. So being able to open up this banking system and for us to be able to give credit union loans and things like that to the folks that deserve it, so they can go open a small shop next to the laundromat to service their little community. And they're not the big MSOs that want to service 15 states. Let's get that into their hands. Let's get them into the bank, line them up at the credit union, and let's go.
Yeah, man. I like it. Yeah,
because I don't like buying my weed from some Chad that doesn't know how to grow it. I want somebody that's a legacy player, and you're not going to find that in commercial cannabis very often.
Well, New Jersey, at least wanted it to appear to be all about social equity. That's how they passed legalization. Social equity, social equity, social equity. Now, so to the degree that I would have found it to be really working like that, it's fallen short, but not flat for sure. There's some degree of it. If Sue is still with us, she could be a little more articulate about that. But it pretty much is. I mean, New Jersey Weed Man has his own legal business, and he needed about as much social equity as anybody. So it's Phil Charles at Hub 13, which has become a staging ground of sorts for its 2 blocks, 2 short blocks. Actually, it's 390 paces, like right or left foot, not 1, 2, 3, 4, from where I parked the last time I had to walk back and forth. And I know that because I have trouble walking, and I make everything a game. So I count, so I see if I shorten my pace on the way back. Who knows why? But yeah, that Phil's been there, and he's gone through the system. It's been real hard though. You got to stick with it. I mean, you got to really have some fortitude, apparently. But
Yeah. You know,
Money.
the home.
I would, oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say that for me, everything all relates to home grow for patients. You know, how can I get this to fit into having anything to do with that? And the reason I say for patients uh, is when it's tied to adult home grow here, it doesn't get the traction, it doesn't get the co-sponsorship, and it's not too hard to understand that uh, as soon as it starts for patients, it's like adults are like, come on, the sky didn't fall, let's get this done. Um, so I think that's going to start to work too.
You know, I think maybe something that you guys might be missing out on, and I got nothing to do with the way your guys' legislation is landing, obviously, but um, the loudest voice in any given space at any given time, whether it's in a city hall or the White House or commercial cannabis, is the veteran. And so one thing veterans don't like to do, they don't like to go and get on lists, and they don't like to have to go stand in lines, and they don't like to, and you know what else we don't do to veterans? We don't tell them no. We don't tell a veteran they can't do something because they did everything they could and gave everything they could to make sure that we had everything that we need to have. So we provide for them. If you make it important that veterans have to grow their own cannabis because they don't go to dispensaries, you ask the dispos, the veterans don't run there. They don't go get medical cards. You can check the stats from any medical state.
No,
They
I
want to
agree.
grow their own cannabis.
Yeah. Well, I've always known that veterans, and I was married to a woman in a wheelchair, and she could only move her head and shoulders a little, and she was like a medical marijuana hero to people. I mean, we got arrested in Washington, and then she got arrested laying down in Bob Barr's doorway, and all that sort of thing. And that works right up there with veterans, and then of course children. Uh, Also, opened the doors here in New Jersey. Actually, became the first state, not Colorado, to allow a controlled one substance on school grounds for children, basically with Dravet syndrome, epilepsy, and that came out of New Jersey. Um, so it just seems like back in the day, Philippe Dumais, he was a combat veteran, and he was good with. He wanted to go with me to do something. And I said, "Well, it's awesome. Let's go to the Senate Majority Office. You can just actually walk in. They have an outer office and all that." And it was funny because I know how it was going to go, because we know how that's going to work, and so do they in a Senate Majority Office. So we went down and told a woman at the desk we were there for, and she said, "Okay, and we'd like to speak to somebody." And so she explained why that couldn't happen. I said, "Okay, just make sure you understand you're sending a combat veteran on his way without talking to anybody when he thought to come down here and wanted to talk to somebody." "Oh, hold on a second." And then she went and got a guy named Fuquan Muzan, who was the mover for all things cannabis behind the scenes in the Senate. He was a veteran himself. And they hit it off really, really good. And when we came out, he kind of looked at me, and I'm trying not to smile, but I'm like, "Yeah, man, I appreciate that." Because I don't have the wheelchair in front of me now. You're as good as Cheryl at opening doors, And so, but along those lines, at Lefty's podcast, well, actually, I was half of that podcast then, right in front of the State House before it was doing renovations. I mean, like right there, first time Governor Christie walked by, Leo Bridgewater, a veteran who was new to trying to use his voice for this, was sitting there. And I guess, Lefty, you said said he was. You mentioned he was ignoring a veteran, and he didn't really pause. And there's some debate over whether the governor then was all the way inside the door, because we were very close to the door to when Lefty's. What did you say, Lefty?
I said, don't be a pussy.
Right. You didn't call him one. You said don't be one. And you know the point is it got the governor's attention one way or the other. And from then on, he didn't stop and come over and sit down, but he never ignored us. And that in spite of the fact that we offered 40 cones directing foot traffic through one lane into the State House because he had a problem with somebody thought they were helping him out by closing off a couple of lanes of entry to George Washington Bridge, backed up traffic in Fort Lee. That was a screw you to the mayor. Governor didn't really know about it, but he got credit for all that. It was Bridgegate. I mean, check out Governor Christie Bridgegate cones.
People went to jail over that.
So anyway, I would set up cones, 20 on each side, where the sidewalk expanded not too far off the road to where the State House was, and then we put cones 3 feet apart so wheelchairs access could pass. And for all of his shortcomings, Governor Christie did not use the back door. He did not avoid us, and he would come in and out of these cones. And we had a sign up there that said foot traffic study, we think, because it got blamed on, I think it was a traffic study. And
that was great.
A legislator went to jail for it, and it was great that we did that for 2 years. And but it was the veteran angle that
he wouldn't shake hands with Leo, and then finally he did. He ignored him at first, and then finally he shook hands with Leo, and Leo had a talk with him. It was.
He also said, "We're done expanding our program." And I went to his second inauguration thing, stood outside his office, and I got 14 seconds of film of him going by and me going, "No, we're not done improving our law, not by a long shot, Governor." And Lefty and me, we'd start showing up at his town hall meetings and, really dogged him good. But
that's a tactic, believe it or not, that veterans have used for a long time. Currently, right now we have a big push here in Missouri. We are the first state to land a psilocybin program for veterans. Right. So the psilocybin conversation has been, we've had to shame our government into understanding that and having to use a lot of really hard conversations and hard numbers.
Not for nothing, you might appreciate here in this in the course of Congress. It is a freewheeling sort of thing. Monday's a rigid podcast. This is more fun. What I would do 14 years ago or 15, whatever, the FDA approved having a study using returning combat veterans diagnosed with PTSD. And the FDA said okay to that. And the DEA, of course, is keeping it from happening. So what I did is, as mailman Jim, I'm 3.5 hours away from Washington. I call out to all veterans, especially, if you want to write something to your congressman, I'll deliver it with attitude. All you got to do. And then I gave them basically whatever they wrote. And I would help them a little bit, but it was just whatever they poured their hearts out. The letter began, "I would appreciate it if someone for your office would talk with Jim Miller when he hand delivers this to your office in Washington, D.C." So I would walk, and I covered 39 offices over 2 trips, and I had to bring somebody back because I had so many letters. A lot were the same states and stuff. But what would happen is the same thing. It's coming. You walk in. "Hi, can I help you?" "Yes, I want to talk to somebody about post-traumatic stress not being allowed to be tested with cannabis in veterans with post-traumatic stress." Are you a constituent?" That's the first thing they're going to say. They want to know. I mean, if I'm not representing, somebody else. And I go, oh no, I'm not even from the same side of Mississippi as you. And sometimes I would do it like not the blazing saddles. I'd have it folded up and I go, but let me whip this out. And I take it out and I would read it and say, this is from Milwaukee. Is yours? Huh? And I say, yeah, it starts out by saying, I would appreciate if somebody from your office would have somebody talk to Jim Miller, that's me, when he hand delivers this to you. And I give it to him and I say, now, it looks like you want to rush me out the door. And I'll be honest with you, I got a lot of offices to go to, and I don't even think I can make them all. So, like, let me know, shall I stay or shall I go? I was having so much fun. Never did they let me go. They had somebody there every time. It worked like a charm. And it also gave veterans a voice, and it just took me, it didn't take me a lot of time. I did it like 3 times, and then I had catastrophic injury to both feet. And that cut a lot of that walking around short. I'm good to go now. But we went with Robert Platshorn's silver tour from New Jersey to DC a while back, because actually getting older opens doors too. I get to be the old guy now that I'm 71. I try to hunch over a little and walk slower. But everything that's going on, normally we don't have this much fun because it's just like a shit show and people are getting screwed. And but this is just one of the nicer things, like, with everything that you just described so eloquently that now I can pass on to people.
Well, I'll tell you another one that you guys can think about in depth here. And you guys see what's happening with the 2024 Farm Bill?
No.
So the 2024 Farm Bill is going to change your legal amount of THC allotted in hemp from 0.3% to 1%, which is the international standard, to 1%. Now, often the difference between what's in a head shop or a smoke shop, or sometimes even gas stations, the flower that's in there, though subpar and not that great, often the only difference between that and what's in the dispensary is that COA. So right now, when they lift the federal farm bill to 1%, that takes hemp, cannabis, marijuana, all of it. It makes it all legal under the same umbrella. So if you can picture a situation where anybody is going to be able to carry cannabis in their store, as long as it's under 1% THC, and THCA is fine. But if you guys know the science, if I take anything that's THCA and I light it on fire or take heat to it becomes THC or THCA. So the situation here is a situation where you have federal legalization happening at the same time that the Farm Bill is happening, and it looks like a complete prohibistic lift on all things with that plant. When they land the legalization bill, it's going to collect taxes. So is the Farm Bill. It's going to collect taxes on intoxicating cannabinoids, which are going to be all the other ones. So your dispensary markets, your cultivators, they've got a lot of concerns on their plate right now on what their business model looks like 2 years out the gate here.
Yeah. As long as I know they're getting a slice of the pie, it's going to happen. That's, it's, it was the one thing, a state legislator from Pennsylvania came to an early coalition for medical marijuana meeting. And he wanted to bring the idea to Pennsylvania. And in the middle of hearing a few things about why it's good for patients and all that, he go, listen, I don't mean to be crass or cold about this or anything, but for me to get anything done, I need to ask you this. How will this benefit Pennsylvania financially? In other words, what can I say? And right away, I thought, that's the man for the job. He's like, it's going to take a little something to offer, and so that is kind of the way it works. And when the sales tax on medical cannabis was phased out, imagine that. They couldn't just ship can it. They say, we're getting rid of it. We're going to phase it out 2% a year. And I'm like, that 2%, if you can't afford your full monthly allotment that you need as a patient, and you can't afford it, that 2%, of that is 2% of their medicine, which is, it's like about a day and a little less than a day and a half. So basically, that's taking away a day and a half medicine every month from a patient because you need that couple of dollars more than, so now there's no slice of the pie. And home grow for patients, we're having a hard time convincing people. Yes, if we have maybe 80,000 patients now, I don't think 10,000 are going to grow. I just don't think they are right off the bat. But when nature takes its course, they'll be allowed to have caregivers, somebody to grow for them. And, well, how do we know they're not going to take advantage of patients? You have no freaking idea. If there's a complaint, you deal with it. If there's not, goodbye.
Yeah,
So,
and we haven't seen a lot of that. We haven't seen a lot of that in these home grow states. Like, there's standards to this medicine, the same way the prices on the street fluctuate, things fluctuate. But here's what's real: if they don't want to give you home grow, then you're just forcing those people back to the traditional market. And the traditional market right now handles 90% of the sales anyway. Dispensaries only handle 10% of the sales in the United States of America. If you don't want to do it the right way, then you're just going to give it back to the people that do it the right way.
Yeah. I was going to say I haven't visited a dispensary in a year, but Lefty and me visited one. It's only because we were had to meet somewhere between his house and my house. So we met at a dispensary I'd never been to. And I walked in and took a tour, took a look around, and here's my card. Nah, I can't afford anything. Just wanted to look. I'm just looking.
No, just looking, just browsing,
Yeah,
sir.
just browsing.
Too fancy.
But that's I'm on an incredibly short financial leash. I'm not like I everything I own is mine. I haven't had a bank account in like a couple of decades. No credit cards. Kind of living not under radar, but my only income is my late spouse Cheryl's her Social Security. Became mine as a surviving spouse. I don't know why I don't have that kind of alpha male ego, where I don't where I can find that funny, But anyway, since she got sick so early in her life with MS, she hardly made any money, and this was back into the early 70s. So I don't, but it's I'm comfortable. I just can't be comfortable if I have to buy this. And, New Jersey did make it clear when it was legalized that adults are allowed to exchange up to 1 ounce of cannabis with no money involved. Oh, okay. And allowed to possess 6 ounces with, wherever you are. And, that just like lightened it up for me, where we could go to events that were known to be more like a farm market, and it would be people who really took things kind of serious too. But it was like half price from it's twice. It's just is a gimme. And one thing about cannabis consumers that I find very endearing is they find out somebody's in need. They won't be in need for long. I mean, somebody will take care of it. If I even infer that I ran out, I'd be flooded with offers, So, but now to skate right into what we're talking about over the next couple of years.
I'm out of weed. Just saying, I'm out of weed.
Wow. And we are one of 2 states that operates our elections in alternate cycles. So we don't have legislators running for office as well at the end of their 2-year session. And that bodes very well, that we still have time to get things done in New Jersey. This is the first half of the session. It's not going to end with be a lame duck after the election. And oddly enough, in New Jersey, Homegrow was passed in the original Senate bill, passed 2216, six plant limit in 2009. And then head of the Judiciary Committee, Senator Nick Scutari, might sound like a familiar name. Yeah, he got that done. And he was pressuring the assembly. Come on, let's get this going. We got to get this done. It's the second half of the year, the second half of the session. So when it came down to an assembly vote, it was hijacked. I was there. Assembly Health Committee Chairman Herb Conaway said, before we begin, I'm going to read some changes that have been made to the bill. I'm going to read them. They're going to take no more than 10 minutes from, I guess, the Senate and the Assembly sponsor of the bill have something to say, and it's like everybody's like, what? And Homegrow was gone. And it passed, and it was like, now it's either going to have to be compromised, and the Senate's going to have to change their bill to match the Assembly, the Senate, or no medical marijuana for patients until next session. So it was like going to get patients off the battlefield, And Nick Scutari said after that we can, like reporters and people around, we can deal with once the program's, down the road a little bit, we can revisit Homegrow, And what are you going to do? It's like that's just sort of the way it went. But then he became Senate president, and now he's the one not letting Homegrow be heard in the Senate. Less provisions than he got passed. It's just ripe for making him look like the clown that he is on this, So it's the guy that pulled it out, Herb Conaway, the chairman of the Health Committee. Well, he's running for an open congressional seat because Congressman Andy Kim is going to become senator because we got rid of a senator, and he's going to run for that seat. Medical doctor Herb Conaway, and he's running under saying of the four main things, he's going to make healthcare more accessible and affordable for New Jersey families and seniors. Well, that would include cannabis, but he's the one that did not let the Assembly version of the bill be heard for the last 3 years. It's not in his committee now. It's in a committee where the head of the committee is a co-sponsor of the bill. So in the Assembly, it's probably gonna get going and all. But can you believe that he, in 14 years, has never said why or he took it out? I mean, it wasn't his decision to make.
I can't believe that this would be the first time that you've seen a politician lie to your face.
Oh, no, he won't lie to my face. That's the run and hide. There's no lying to my face is fine. But running from patients is like, and the thing is, he can't run for Congress and not see me. I'm known to show up. I mean, it used to be when Cheryl was alive, we'd show up or I'd bring her wheelchair with a sign in it, and it really wouldn't matter. And it was just, it was a good battering ram, And but right now, him running for Congress, I'm going to feed this to his primary opponents and see if anyone wants to ask the question that patients haven't had an answer to, because if he's going to be all about healthcare, and he's going to get the nomination most likely, and I imagine somebody's not going to want to make him look bad like that. But it's a solidly blue state. I would get the hope that a Republican candidate running against him for the election in November would love to trash him on this. I mean, if he's the agent, it just gives
Waxy, how are your politicians in Missouri?
That's a good question.
It goes like this with us. We passed with a voter initiative, and we
Right.
passed with the people passed it, not the legislation. So our legislators are real sore at our program all the time for any reason. They like to use it to bring it up in any negative fashion they can, while at the same time we're a top performing state in the union when it comes to cannabis. So at the same time, they have to acknowledge like how much money we brought in. We also are the only state in the union that gives all of our medical tax to our Veterans Commission, and then our taxation is only at 6% on recreational market. 1/3 of that goes to our veterans on top of the medical tax, and 1/3 of that goes towards addiction clinics and efforts. And the other part of that, the other third goes towards our public defender program, which was sorely needed because folks like myself have been damaged by public defenders our whole lives. So we need to get some money into that system and get some good lawyers in there. So I would say that when it comes to our politicians, the ones that are friendly with cannabis, most of them are good friends of mine, and I count my good friends on just both my hands here. So we have a lot of on both sides of the fence. We're a red state, so they're all about those taxes. But on both sides of the fence, our politicians are sore about how we got it done. But at the end of the day, it's finished. We got through the bloody mess of it all. Now we're trying to protect our intoxicating cannabinoids from our Missouri cannabis industry is trying to ban those. So right now we got to fight trying to keep all that expanded for folks that don't want to go inside a dispensary, because we only have 187 dispensaries in our state. We're a very closed market. So it's not like, a dispensary on every corner. So we got to keep our cannabinoids available out there for people. So there's a lot of fights all the time out here, but most of the time they're fighting in a good direction. And I'm a liberal myself. I'm very honest and say that. But I live in a red state. A lot of my own beliefs are pretty lean towards that kind of red feeling there when it comes to commerce, interstate commerce, getting this plant across state lines, getting it into the hands of everybody that we can, legalizing states, whether they like it or not. I'm sorry. Recreational is your choice, but the plant is medical, whether you like to admit it or not. So we need to get get this conversation going in all kinds of directions. Our local politicians, pretty great, man. Like I said, I served on city council in one of our reddest communities of 40,000 people in our population there. And I would say that our politicians that I sat beside were wonderful. The ones that because I'm like you guys, I go to our capital a lot. We have to, right? If we're you can be an advocate, but if you're going to activate to be an activist, you need to go act. So we go to our capital a lot. We talk to our politicians up there, and they do certainly give us the time and the ears and the effort. So I feel like we're very blessed here in Missouri. They're setting a good standard.
Yeah, really. It sounded like all the targets for the revenue. If that was known beforehand and needed to get a vote or people to agree with it, it just seems like it covered really nice bases that would make it hard for somebody to say, I still don't want them to get that money. How do you say that? I'd rather not have a program at all. They can't say that.
Yeah, you really have to. At the end of the day, if a politician is going to pass legislation, it has to be palpable to that politician, the language. If the people are going to want to pass that through the people, through voter initiatives, it has to be palpable to the voter, because the voter's going to act on that. So it's just that language, you have to find that happy medium. We got 52% of the vote and passed adult use here. We did that through the conversation of giving the money to the veterans. The conversation of home grow gained a lot of votes. But we walked that line real close. So it's like that in every state.
That's pretty close, 52.
Yeah, you betcha.
When did you know it was going to pass when it was voting day, or was it, did you know? You couldn't have been sure. Yeah.
No one did. No one did. We I didn't sleep that night. We all went to bed going, oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Because it was our second big attempt at medical, and our first one failed tremendously. So we had tried to find something that was, and big shout out to John Payne and Amendment 2 Consultants for landing our laws here in Missouri. Good friend of mine. Appreciate everything they did to get us where we're at. But we did walk that line very thin. And we did we cherry picked everything that every other state had done right, and left behind everything that we thought they had done wrong. And then we
How
remember. Go ahead.
how basic is that? What you're saying is it does me good to hear that, because that's what I ask our legislators to do. To go look at the other states, pick out the good stuff, ask them what they had to deal with that they didn't see coming, and you seem to. It's a good thing you did it that way, because you didn't have that much room. New Jersey's a pretty blue state, so it passed at the poll. It was 2-1, like 67 to 33 or something like that. So it really wasn't in doubt, which made it good. It didn't take a lot of advocating. What we did, though, is we dropped the ball on the reality of you can only say so much at the ballot box. Then comes the regulatory process. Then comes the promulgation of rules, and then New Jersey's known for screwing shit up like that. I mean, it's like a slice of the pie state if there ever was, and I don't know if people were being serious when they said, I thought it would include homegrown. What do you mean it doesn't include homegrown? There's so much. I thought it would include homegrown. Really? In New Jersey, have you not been paying attention to the medical side and you thought this would include homegrown? Oh, come on. So I think there might have been a little, and there are still people that don't know, getting in trouble for growing. I mean,
That's dangerous. That can be very dangerous for your voter when you're changing things around like that, and especially if you're minimalizing it. If you're taking away and not giving, you could put somebody in a real hurt locker like that. That's dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely.
People think it's legal to grow weed in New Jersey, and it's not. I keep telling people, no, it's not. And it's the same disparity we had during the drug war, where it's mostly black and brown people being arrested for growing now and selling untaxed cannabis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was obvious back in the early days of Weed Man's endeavor, the joint, right across from City Hall. One of the busts of sort that happened in the early days, there was an actual, I think it might have been 4 people, and they were patients, and the patients of color were held while the white patients had their cards and were allowed to go. I mean, it was as blatant as could possibly be. I don't know how that worked out legally and all, but it's just.
Well, I mean, that's why we've got to get this legalized, right? Because you have to take all that out of the equation when you talk about cannabis. Everybody wants to use it as a tool right now. All your prosecutors want to use it as a tool to, help that cocaine charge, or a tool to, that's why they got a search on the vehicle, or a tool to do this. Well, they do the same exact thing with cannabis and race. They use cannabis as a tool to get into those populations and get the damage done that they're used to doing. And the problem is that that's so damn normalized that even when it's reported, nowadays it's done nothing but made fun of. Like, oh, he got, busted with weed. Well, actually, he didn't just get busted with weed. He got his door busted down. His dog ran out. He had 9 guns pointed at him, and one of them could have gone off at any time. And thank God he didn't try to defend himself, because if he'd lifted a gun thinking it was a burglar, then we have end of life. When you have these situations, it's these laws of allowing cannabis to be used as a tool by law enforcement, judges, prosecutors, things like that. When we decriminalized and legalized down here, that was the biggest problem that we had, was the police had a misunderstanding of what cannabis was in their tool belt. And it wasn't a crime that they were looking for. It was simply, almost in all possible stances, it was simply a tool that they used to elevate another crime.
Yeah. Back in the day, it would then, of course, move on to the rehabilitative industry, where you would have choices in so many cases. Well, you can do 30 days or you can go to rehab. Rehab. You know, and that was just a moneymaker, and that cycled itself through New Jersey to a big degree.
You ever go to rehab for weed? That's fun.
Have you,
So-
Leslie?
Oh yeah.
Have you, Waxy? Have you been to rehab?
So I've been to cognitive behavioral therapy for alcoholism. So
Oh.
I'm a recovering alcoholic myself. But you could not talk me into going to rehabilitation for cannabis. Even my even my counselor, my therapist was like, "Look, we're here to help you figure out what you're trying to do." And weed, mushrooms, all that was part of my therapy when it came. That was my part of my therapy. And I had a VA. Therapist who fully understood that, but I'm not sure what therapy for weed would be. Like, what do you even do? Like, do you go like, what would you like? You show up in the morning, you have breakfast, then what?
It was such a joke. They were all laughing at me because you got like heroin addicts and people coming off benzos and shit. And I'm just a weed head. But I was in a lot of pain because I needed pills because I had back surgery. So the insurance company wanted me on pills. They did not want me taking cannabis. As a matter of fact, I lost my workers' comp because of cannabis. I quit cannabis for 70 days because they want me on roxycodone. So I quit cannabis for 70 days, and it still showed up in my system. So then I lost my workers' comp at that point. And it was a nightmare with the insurance companies. And I believe that was an insurance issue why I had to go to that rehab for cannabis. Or it could have been a DUI that I got I got pulled over in East Brunswick and got beat up by the police, and they charged me with so much crap. I got a DUI for cannabis. I also got 2 DUIs for cannabis in New Jersey. Can you believe that one? That's a good one.
Wow.
Yeah, for driving under the influence.
No.
Yeah. I think that was what got me into the rehab. Was that one? Yeah, insane.
So we have a program that one of our Missouri Highway Patrolmen does, Jason Craig here in Missouri, and he does a program where he'll have 65 or 80 cops from all over Missouri will get into a room and learn about cannabis and marijuana. He does this through our legalization dollars and all that. Well, I got to be in that room, and the coolest part was they paid me to do 2 rounds of smoking cannabis. Okay. First round, they said just smoke a little bit. So I rolled they said just like you're trying to get a little high. So I rolled a 1 gram hash hole with some wax in it and did a couple dabs. They're like, whoa, I'm like, trust me, I got this. Then they had 65 police officers, 5 officers at a time give me the battery of tests that they give alcoholics when they pull them over to prove that consumption is impairment. Well, not only did I pass that with all 65 police officers, when they got to the second round, they told us, there was 5 of us, now smoke as if you're doing it recreationally. So, fellas, I got down. I was doing dabs. I had the biggest blunts you've ever seen. Like, I was getting ridiculous. And they were laughing. They thought they had me. I went through all of that again, 5 cops each, 65 cops total, and they gave us the test. Now, 1 cop out of all of them said he failed. The other cop said, now, how did he fail? He said, well, I saw 5 different things that he did wrong. And the other cop said, no, you didn't. And I said, officer, I got this. I said, that cop right there, he's a university cop. He pulled me over in town out of his jurisdiction. My lawyer's got this. Don't need to trip. And they all started laughing. And I passed all of it with flying colors, and so did everybody else, because consumption does not mean impairment. And we got to go talk to the police officer and stand up and talk to them all. And I told them who I was, what I do. And they all, I swear to God, fellas, and you can look at the video, they all applauded when I stepped up because they hadn't seen anybody smoke like that before and be able to not only communicate with them, but blow their tests away and give them education at the same time. So, when I say consumption is not impairment, I mean that. I have friends with MS who tremble and they can't drive unless they have that medicine with them, and they take a couple puffs and then they're good to go. We got to remember that everybody is not the same. So science is always going to outrun the law, and they're not going to be able to, at the end of the day, be able to legally give you guys DUIs for cannabis unless you're just blowing those tests. And you shouldn't be on the road at that point if you're consuming that much cannabis anyway. But as for having a toke or 2 before you go on the road, you're not going to see me ever say that's a bad thing. Matter of fact, President Joe Biden's, the guy in charge of his highway systems, was at that deal. And when I stood up and told everybody who I was, he raised his hand and he asked me, he said, "Sir," he goes, "as intoxicated as you are, would you get behind the wheel of a busload of kids as intoxicated as you are?" I said, my exact words were, "F no, I wouldn't. I would not." He goes, "Why not?" I said, "One, I can't stand kids. Two, I don't know how to drive a bus. But as for the weed, I wouldn't worry about it."
Listen, when you said, so I said, yeah, let's go to video. Is there video that you might be able to pass on of that?
It's out there on the internet. Yeah, I'm sure I can find it. We did all kinds of live streams.
Yeah, if you could find it and like give Lefty a heads up, that's something worth seeing. You know, I mean,
Yeah, it's
especially
I believe that law enforcement in every state needs to have programs like that, because you're literally taking hundreds and hundreds of police officers at a time, educating them on what this plant actually is, because they're dealing with the same stigmas and prohibistic conversations that a lot of people have. It's not a cop's fault if they don't understand something that they've never had an understanding for or been educated about. Like, we really can't blame these cats. What we got to do is treat them with kindness and remember that we didn't always know about our endocannabinoid system or cannabis or marijuana or hemp or THC or THCV or CBD or any of that. And they don't either. So we got to give them time to figure that out, because when all those cops retire, whether we like them or not, we want cannabis in their nursing homes. We want those fellas eating and ladies eating those gummies. We want folks to be taken care of, because that's a tough job too.
Yeah, and it's the fact that you were able to go through their same tests that they would do if they were looking for sobriety from alcohol, or how it's affecting you. It's in New Jersey. What I don't trust right now is they're looking for ways to quantitatively assess an amount of, a test other than the field test that in effect you're talking about. And
it's a weird situation, because even the federal legalization bills that are coming out, the language inside those says that they have a certain amount of years to come up with the science of the cannabis DUI, or it gets dropped completely. And I think there's going to be a point where it's going to get dropped completely, because every bit of science that we have, none of it, not a single bit of the science that they're using on any of that technology or any of those machines, none of it is dialed into your endocannabinoid system. It either has to do with breathing, saliva, activity in your capillaries. None of it makes any sense whatsoever when you think about what cannabis does in your body. So until they figure that out, they're dead in the water, and they haven't figured that out yet. And when they start to figure that out, you're talking about 2 years of patenting and work to do before they could even release a brand of that to put in police cars. Until then, the judges, the courts, that's invisible to them. So they can talk about it all they want, but there's no way to physically test me for cannabis, because you don't even know where my endocannabinoid receptors are, much less anything else. You've been dealing with alcohol, which is breath and saliva and patterns. You're not going to find that with cannabis. So you need to look elsewhere, and they haven't started doing that yet, because they don't have a baseline understanding of the plant or our endocannabinoid system.
So much information tonight. This has been like a class.
WAXY,
Appreciate
this year we're celebrating our 3rd annual Cannabis Patient Awareness Day. We'd love for you to take part from Missouri. We're having states from all over the USA take part and come on the podcast and talk about what patients are going through in your state. What are some of the problems that they're facing? Even like stuff like wheelchair access, or what problems you guys have over there?
How many?
I'd love to have that conversation with you, because the truth is, we have yet to have a state that has done this perfectly. No state has perfect laws yet. We haven't done that yet. Even my own state has its, and I'm very proud of our program, but it has its fallacies. It's a closed market. It's it's big Anna. There's no room for the small guys. Social equity program fell flat. While at the same time we're one of the top performing states. But there's in every single state. And I try to keep a good eye on most of them. In every single state, they've got their own pros and cons, because you get that when you have a 50 different market system like we're doing right now, which doesn't make any damn sense when you talk about interstate commerce. You're going to have those problems. It's That's the when you kick the can down the road for as long as these administrations have, force these states to do their own thing, they have no baseline to go off of. We can't do it like Amsterdam, and we certainly know California didn't do it correctly. Washington's having issues. Oregon doesn't care about any kind of commerce whatsoever. It's a home grow state where everybody grows in their backyard. We're all doing it completely different. New Mexico is in a completely open state, but no water to grow cannabis. Like, we got to start working together. We also need baseline laws. We need reference labs for testing in every single state with one complete lab or multiple for a federal government, so that we have ways to justify these certificate of analyses and make sure that every single thing that comes into these markets is coming in clean and free of all the nastiness that products from overseas are bringing, and products that are illicit are bringing to these shelves. You know, it's okay to go see the plug, but when I go see the plug, I want some flour and some wax. I don't want to get my inhaler. I'm going to get my suppositories from the dispensary. I'm not going to be going to them for a lot of things. I need it in the nursing homes. I need it in the hospitals. I need it in IV bags. I need it everywhere. So right now we've got a situation where 50 states, 50 different markets. It's an exhaustive thing for cannabis. It really is. So we've got to get to a point where you guys aren't concerned about what your pros and cons are, because we got baselines. But until that happens, and I think that we're a long way away from some kind of standard federally. I think they're going to want their money and run. We're going to be hurting a little bit in some of these decisions, and we'll still have to fight with these politicians to get what we're trying to get for these patients. And we have to do that all while the states are becoming recreational, and we're still in some of these states trying to fight this medicinal conversation. So it's bananas, but you guys are doing amazing things down there for sure. You just got to show up, you know?
Mm. Yeah, well, one thing I have learned after, you know, I was more trying to work towards the federal government accepting applications to their investigational new drug program, you know, where you'd get your 300 ditchweed joints from Mississippi. But then by 1993, you know, I realized I got to start doing something at the state level, and it was just very hard. My whole thing is, I'm going to treat my wife with cannabis. She eats it, we don't smoke it, and I have to buy more than 50 grams at a time. One, price; two, convenience; three, every time you buy, you're trying to dodge a bullet, so less bullets to dodge, and it's automatic. Actually, here, I believe they were using pretty much an ounce as the above that it was automatic intent to distribute charge, and then they dropped that, and you know, part of the plea process. And I wanted an exception made where if a patient's doctor had advised them or whatever was legal to do, because Cheryl's doctor is the head neurology, it was then Paul Kimball Hospital, and he very much would have liked her to be able to do this legally, and that was all there was. And just trying to do that, I mean, I wrote snail mail letters to 120 legislators in 1994, just like, you know, you need to take one little tiny step. But I learned one thing starting when I pushed Cheryl's wheelchair across the state. It was announced, you know, that I was doing that, and it was well noticed. 58-mile push in 25 hours just to get the subject up, and that was in 1993. And now, after 31 years, I can say one thing with all certainty: it's never going to stop. It never is. It's just not. I mean, maybe it is, not in anybody's lifetime. Well, none of us are really spring chickens here, you know. But even in a much younger person's lifetime, it's just never going to happen. I mean, it's like one legislator says here, we're still fixing our alcoholic consumption laws now. Not a session goes by, we don't change laws. It's just never going to end. And you know, it's like editing. You never really are satisfied. You don't finish. You just quit. You know,
Yeah, you know, I look at that, and then I look at the positives too. Like, what's about to happen is going to be the biggest change that Western medicine has ever seen in its lifetime. Every single nurse, every doctor, after a little bit here, is going to leave those schools knowing about their endocannabinoid system, knowing about what these medicines are, and it's gonna make big change. And though we don't like to hear it, big pharma is coming in loud and clear, and they're not. They have signaled very clearly that they're not out to grow cannabis; they're out to buy it. So what they're going to do from the very beginning is begin to buy all of these big MSOs out there, the multi-state operators, the ones that are in all the major states that legalized as they went. They're going to purchase those plants. They're going to go forward with all the products that we want them to have. We want inhalers. We want IV bags. We want nursing homes, veterinarian clinics, hospitals, all that, especially the Veterans Administration, the VA. So we're going to watch all that start to happen really, really quickly here. You're going to see it in a Walgreens within a year, within a Walgreens, because they just put us on the same schedule as a codeine-coated Advil. So you can imagine that a codeine-coated Tylenol, will say, is going to be very soon a cannabis-coated Tylenol or a codeine-coated cannabis, or however they decide they're going to do it. But what we're also going to see is the other side of the shelf. That's going to be behind the counter. You're going to get that prescribed to you by your doctor. But at the end of the day, you got to remember the farm bill is on its way. So those products that are the extra strength, the big THCs, they're behind the counter. But your regular Bayer THC, it's right there for everybody to grab. Your regular Mucinex that's got whatever cannabinoids is going to be there. All of it's going to start to hit those shelves with the same speed that you saw all the cannabis hit all the gas stations over the past 3 years. It's going to happen overnight. And it's going to happen legally, and it's going to be everywhere, and it's going to blow your mind, because you're going to see a lot of escape happen. Big Pharma is looking for escape from painkillers. We're going to hand them that escape. They're going to use it, and they're going to use it in big, big ways. But what they're not going to do is take out the dispensaries. They're not going to worry about the little guy on the street. Big Pharma's out to buy everything. The checks that Big Pharma is going to write are going to be the biggest that Big Can has ever seen, while still being some of the smallest checks that Big Pharma has ever written. This whole thing is going to be owned very, very quickly, and you're going to see a normalization like you've never seen before. You're going to see half of your alcohol shelves are going to be THC beverages. You're going to see THC and hemp enhanced everything from Doritos to Taco Bell in 3 years is going to have your hemp burrito. Everything is going to happen faster than everybody believes, because you've got your farm bill crashing into schedules, crashing into legalization, crashing into safe banking. There's almost no portion of this besides our Second Amendment that isn't going to be protected, and we're going to fix that too.
Exciting times, to be sure. Jim, you're muted.
I was just noting it's 8:40, and that always reminds me of Mike Kessler's old Wednesday 8:40 gatherings. It was just four of us. Everybody brings something you really want when you get high. And he didn't like 4:20. He'd be working or asleep. So 8:40 was twice as good as 4:20. And yet somehow funny, it was like somebody'd show up with a cake, somebody'd show up with grapes, everybody brought something, and then get really high. And
I got a vape.
Well, I heard somebody mention their edibles. So I want to celebrate with you guys the fact that in Missouri, I'm allowed to make my own edibles and grow my own cannabis and make my own things. So I'm going to have a watermelon 100 milligram gummy for you guys.
Now, is that homemade, farm to table?
Oh, yeah, this is done right here on my Levo Lux gummy machine. I got a whole setup here.
Yes. Look at that. That is beautiful. That's farm to table right there.
Shout out to Levo. Big shout out to Levo for keeping me on, and for Loran Gummies for providing me free gummy mix.
Excuse me, I wasn't prepared for that. The quick over. Yeah, a little gummy machine here. You're just
That's
sitting
great.
Right there. A big laugh can turn into a big cough with 71-year-old lungs and watery eyes.
Yeah, I got my cannabis card in 2013. I had a bunch of back surgeries. I was on opiates for 10 years. I used cannabis to get off opiates. And I actually had this surgery, this 2-level cervical surgery without any opiates. And I was amazed. But I'm like the bionic man. I got a fusion, L5S1, L4L5, artificial disc. That's a fusion that's kind of locked in place there. The bone grew over it. So I'm in a lot of pain. And I was on opiates for 10 years with this pain that I'm in. And it took me literally 10 months to get off those opiates. Titrating down from 90 milligrams every 3 hours of roxycodone. That was my prescription, right? Isn't that crazy? Got that down to 30, got it down to 15, and I hit the wall at 4 milligrams. At that point, I had to go cold turkey. And for the first 2 days, it was rough. And then the third day, I would be on a fetal position on the floor. Just couldn't do it. Took me 4 times.
Were you using cannabis during that time?
Yes, but it was very hard after 10 years and the severe pain that I was in, plus the withdrawal pain. It was just too much. So the 4th time, I got a bag of sour diesel, and for whatever reason, that sour diesel really got me. I don't know. It just really did me good, and I was able to get through it at that point and get off those opiates, and it was such a great feeling. So I talked to other people about this that abuse opiates for fun. And I'm like, bro, I can get you off opiates because I did it and I'm in severe pain. Like, I need opiates and I'm not taking them. I'm using cannabis. Now, what I should have done is made it a lot easier on myself. Knowing what I know now, I would have used cannabis suppositories. I would have used edibles. I would have used tinctures. I would have used every orifice would have been full of some kind of cannabis. And that's what I would do now. But I got past it. It was the hard way. But, and so I got my cannabis card. And it took me a year. They made me wait a year. And it was 4 visits at $400 a visit. So I paid $1,600 for this friggin' piece of plastic so I could smoke weed. So
Whoa.
To my dismay, we went to go see Governor Christie at a town hall meeting. And me and Chuck wanted to smoke our cannabis. In New Jersey, you could smoke your cannabis wherever you smoke tobacco. So me and Chuck said, hey, let's go smoke our cannabis. Hey, there's a cop over there. Let's go show him our card and tell him we want to smoke weed somewhere. Where can we go smoke weed? And the cop says to me, if you pull out a joint, I'm going to arrest you. I was like, wait a minute. I just spent all this money on this stupid card. I had to wait a friggin' year, and I'm still going to get arrested? Wait, what? No. That's when we started the Ignorance is No Excuse tour. We started going to police stations and asking them, where do we smoke weed? And do it on camera. And
that was amazing when it started. I went to some in the beginning, and it was just so, we got the law behind us now. I wasn't a patient at that time myself, although I am now. And it was very impressive. And, Lefty BI, I'm Edward Grimes. I'm a medical cannabis patient in New Jersey. I have my card.
And
I have my state-sanctioned medicine that I bought at a state-sanctioned dispensary.
Yes, here's my bag of weed.
and I'm in pain right now. And I need to know where's the closest place to here that I can use my medicine where you won't arrest me. And it'd be like, and back then it was so confusing.
I didn't know.
They'd call the county prosecutor's office for guidance, and that was the most common thing they would do. But it was like, one was like, well, just go Atlantic City, just go across the street there. There wasn't a building like right there, and I think you might have said, so what happens when somebody complains? Oh, they're going to complain to us. We'll take our time. You finish, be gone. Oh, right. Okay. But then the one that just said right out there where the American flag is and that whole setting around it, concrete.
Go smoke by the flagpole.
So there's like the library, the municipal buildings, and this is like right in the middle. I thought that's good. The most impressive one was Trenton, though, when the
lieutenant, the female lieutenant. Don't get stoned.
She listened to what you had to say and checked out something and then said, I have 8 units on the street right now that don't know this. It was like a really successful, and Actually, I took part in naming that without knowing it because I was like, the shoe's on the other foot. How many times? Ah, yes, be that as it may, ignorance is no excuse for the law. You know, it's like I grew up on that. So he shortened it to ignorance is no excuse. And the really fun part was going to casinos. You know, Atlantic City, we did a casino tour thing there. And that was pretty hilarious.
I saw the ignorance is no excuse tour on your website. I thought that was pretty great.
Yeah, it was. And how many Lefty? You have to have been to. We have 500 and what? So 556, something like that.
Ridiculous number. I
Of
know.
municipalities.
But now we go for like stuff like wheelchair access because we found out that some of these police stations don't have wheelchair access.
Yeah.
Literally police stations that you can't get into with a wheelchair. No doorbell, no nothing. Just wow. I'm like, I was shocked. Even post offices. There's post offices with no wheelchair access in New Jersey. And that's shocking to me. Dispensaries, there's a couple of dispensaries. Like, what is going on here?
So you go to police stations like with a ramp that you have to use. You bring your own ramp. And
oh yeah, I brought my own ramp because they have these mailboxes here in New Jersey where if you have drugs, you can return your drugs in these big boxes. I don't know if you have that there, but we have that here. And I took a bunch of.
I put up my own, but no one used them. So
we'll get rid of it.
Yeah, so we set up a ramp in the unramped police station. Went down this ramp, which had no business being on this. It was like 10 steps. It was a 10-foot ramp. It barely made it to the bottom. And I almost went head over heels over this ramp. And the cop is down there watching this whole thing. And the cop really can't do anything because you have to let me in. I need to get in to put these drugs in your drug box. That's my reason for being there. And it was just ridiculous. Ridiculous. Still hasn't been fixed.
Well, I unfortunately, I think I've got about 7% of my phone left, and I'm not in my studio, so I have my phone. So I may have to jump off here.
Yeah.
I apologize about.
Yeah, Waxy, send me your info. I want to tag you, and I want to talk to you more about Cannabis Patient Awareness Day on 7/10. Missouri needs to take part in that because I need to know more about what you guys are going through over there, and between your politicians and your patients, and man.
Lefty's hijacking July 10th for patients because that's oil day. You know,
taking it back.
Seven, you know.
My name is Waxy for a reason. Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's a pretty good nickname too, by the way.
That's all I use.
Rolls right off your tongue.
Hey, before I go, can I give some flowers out here?
Yes, and please unplug your website and whatever you want to plug too.
You bet. I want to thank Sue for asking me to come on. And I also want to say that she might be the stillest person I've ever seen. I thought that was a photo down there for the longest time until she moved. And then I was like, am I high? Did she move? Okay, but thanks, Sue.
Sometimes I just have to shut up during the podcast. And this is one of the times. The one thing I did want to point out, though, I am really glad that Lefty brought up the, his addiction to OxyContin. I'm doing a presentation this Saturday on May 4th. And what I am presenting on is addiction. And my 2-part chapter of it is addiction using cannabis and yoga for recovery. So, it'll be well attended, and I hope somebody gets the message. Anyway, thank you.
Very cool.
Thanks, Waxy.
Well, I wanted to say thank you for what you guys do for your community with this podcast and all the other. Obviously, this is the one of the smallest things that you guys are doing out there, but a very big one too. So I want to say thank you for what you guys are doing for your patients in your guys' area. And then before I get off here, I always like to say anytime I get a chance that to your listeners and even to yourselves, veterans, we understand, are killing themselves at a suicide rate of 22 a day. I believe that number is closer to 45 when you talk about opioids and alcohol. I want folks who are listening to understand that as federal legalization sweeps across the United States, the veterans are the key to getting these answers into every hospital, everything else, but we can also help them at the same time. So always keep your veterans up close and up front. And I really appreciate you guys for having this podcast.
Wax, 2 quick questions. What's your favorite munchie food?
He loves to
Well,
ask this.
I'm gonna have to go with any edible.
What kind of edible?
I make my own. I make everything, man. I would have to say gummies are my favorite, but
You're
but
sitting
honestly, a good medicated cup of coffee in the morning is my go-to just about every morning.
Nice. All right, one last thing. If you have a buddy of yours who's down on his luck, who's sad, what's something you would tell them to pick him up, or a life gem that you take through life that picks people up to cheer them up?
Gosh, I would have to go with in Jesus Christ our Lord I trust, but all things too shall pass. And that also, people need to remember, includes the good things and the good times too. So keep those right up front and always recognize that everything in front of you is good, whether it's good or bad, because you're not going to get it again.
Amen, brother. Amazing. Thank you, Waxy.
Thank you,
best.
Waxy,
you guys-
so much.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Talk soon. Peace
Yeah.
out.
This was a
So cool.
wonderful evening.
Yeah, it was great.
I'm good, ain't I? See?
Oh man, you were like a go-to person for having really interesting people tune in and take part.
I have
That's
some more.
awesome.
I have more
Yeah.
on the list.
Yeah, it's sort of like, that's a pretty good act following Dr. Peter.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's sort of a,
He's on the Cannabis Nurses Network right now. I bopped into
Nice.
just to show my face and say hello. But he's you know what? He's talking the same stuff we listen to. The only thing I added in was like I wanted to know what his take on is with psychedelics. Of course, he's all for Schedule 3. And most of the psychiatrists you're going to hear that from. Because they don't lose anything. People are going to go to them to get scripts. So, it's kind of, it doesn't matter to him. He's giving you a much longer length of time for this to go past what Waxy was sharing. I think it's going to take not quite as long as Greenspoon said. I'd like to see it happen in my lifetime. But, we'll see, right?
It's interesting. I mean, he's very willing to go out on a limb with how he feels and what he knows, and he's well informed. And
yeah, he is. Yes, I knew you guys would love him.
Yeah, well rounded. But everything he said made sense, and it would be possible. I mean, it's not like describing a zombie movie or you got to get. No, this is like a possible scenario with everything coming together at the same time. And
you got to think about that, though. You got to think about so he's he's a random person I know, and we heard what he said, and he is very well informed, and I think he's really good with his message. But if he's doing that, so are a lot of other people. So this is like a stay tuned next series.
It's just that there's something in it for everybody. It seems it's not like anybody's going to have anything really yanked away, especially when he's talking about big pharma is going to start buying shit up. Yeah. Well, it's like where the norm would be like, big pharma isn't going to like this. And for him to say,
well, I don't think they are. I don't think they're as happy as he's saying. They have some kind of business plan like that. However, they've already jumped on the psychedelic wagon because those are chemicals, so they own that. And people are paying big money that right now are doing this stuff under the radar, Well,
would I trust a pharmaceutical company more than somebody else to make my vape pens and make my, in other words, the devices? It's not necessarily. I could see somebody coming up with a way where it was okay, where big pharma wasn't going to be the big. In New Jersey, oh my God, never going to happen. it's I think he's describing a timeline that is very possible, but I think
It's not going to happen that way.
I just think it's like anything when somebody proposes a plan and I can build you that in 2 years for 100 million and it takes 6 years and 2 billion. You know, I mean, things happen, yet the original plan made sense, but then life and things get in the way. And, you know, I mean, geez, we had a COVID thing happen, which nobody could see coming, and that changed other people's timelines all the way around for things.
Yeah, and
But,
you know what?
but it is possible.
Right now, up by me, you would think that, you know, I'm right outside of the city. I could spit across. And Lefty, you're close to the city too. We should be hearing like more about, you know, what's going on with the rescheduling, descheduling, you know, et cetera. But we're not. All we're hearing about is the protests, you know, which have absolutely nothing to do with the needs of us
Well,
potheads, you know.
Lefty began the meeting by, what else is this going to affect if it gets Schedule 3? It looks like it's going to happen. And I was given to that. And it's just that WAXY brought a lot more to things that are going to loosen up and move better now that it's
Yeah.
Schedule 3. And as we started to think like, oh, I want to get that, there's reason now to work on fast tracking the bill that passed out of the health committee that Lefty and I testified at unanimously, where PAAD and Senior Gold would
You want me to shut it off? Yeah.
would subsidize it. Yeah. So the fact that that bill already passed and now is just what, sitting somewhere? Oh, the DEA after all this time, finally, are letting go of that rope. I'll come to think of it, it looks like it does have some medical value. Oh my God.
Yeah, I want apologies too, Jim.
Yeah, it's this is good. We don't know what it means yet. You know, it's gonna become obvious as we move along. But I think it's gonna have far-reaching effects. And I'm thinking about starting the process where I want to apply for a PAAD. Thing is I'm on Medicaid and I don't pay for my medicine. Medicaid does. So why would I want to be on PAAD? Well, I'd like to take Eliquis. I can't afford it. And Medicaid only pays for warfarin. So I would then ostentatiously be applying to for receive PAAD benefits just so I could get Eliquis instead of warfarin. I mean, I just want to be a PAAD patient member. If this hits, I don't want to be in that rush for everybody. Yeah, pharmaceutical. I'm Senior Gold. Well, I don't know what that is, but I do know that that happening, if patients weren't already allowed to grow their own by the time that could be happening, it's going to cost New Jersey a bit. Well, it's going to cost the program quite a bit, and it's going to have to be dealt with Senior Gold. And what kind of subsidizing are they going to do? I mean, it's going to be the same copay PAD. I don't even know if there is now, but if it is, it's a token. It's a $2, $5 copay, something like that. What are they going to be paying for it, and how much? Hunger for patients will happen that way because when New Jersey starts paying for it, we'll get what patients have been saying. It is pretty expensive, isn't it? Treasury of New Jersey. Well,
The other thing I was thinking about too, with them leaving, I think cannabis is going to be left in Schedule 3 unless we really all come out really, really strong. And I know there's a lot of people that feel very strongly about the descheduling side, and it could end up that way. However, if it ends up staying in Schedule 3, it's going to be there for a couple of years at least, before
Yeah, and
anything else goes.
I'm not willing to wait a couple of years to get it descheduled. If it's like, okay,
No, well,
descheduled
no,
or
because
nothing.
we're
Yeah,
old. We're old.
yeah, yeah,
We're
right.
tired of this already.
Yeah,
It's redundant. But you
I
know what?
love the idea.
The other part is that schedule is, so if it's a Schedule 3, well, the way that they schedule things, the DEA and the Controlled Substance Act and that whole fucking nightmare of I don't know what you call it. But they mix and match things, like in Schedule 3, you have anabolic steroids, right? Okay, so you have ketamine in there, but you know what else you have in there in Schedule 3? You know what else is a Schedule 3?
No, that's all I got.
Antibiotics. Okay, so
That makes sense.
now
Yeah.
think about that. So as we talk more
I
into
had to figure
this
it out.
into this Schedule 3, need a prescription, need to go to wherever for it. So are we going to do the same thing as like everybody's going to run and grab their patents and say, okay, this strain is mine, and that whole stupidness that went on with everything else. And then there's the generic brands of cannabis. Like, the whole thing sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, the antibiotics were an example I'd use when, where are you going to keep it if it's legal? For me, how are you going to keep it? I just want to keep it where you keep yours locked up, which is where? Oh, we're talking about me. We're talking about you. But I would say, are you telling me that in your life you've never taken an antibiotic that wasn't prescribed for you, or let somebody have one of yours that you didn't finish? Right. Or are you going to tell me that you've never done that? Mm-hmm. So that's Schedule 3. That's Schedule 3. Well, having this in Schedule 3, it means all the other stuff just about is now considered officially more dangerous than cannabis. That's the federal government take on it. What about Percocet? No, more dangerous. What about all those drugs I see on TV? They ask your doctor if blah, blah, blah is right for you.
Lyrica.
Have you noticed they?
Do you know in Florida, Lyrica is a party drug?
Why?
I don't even know what that is.
Why? Because you can literally have a blackout taking Lyrica and still, I guess, act like a normal person and sleep good. But it's a party drug. If you take enough Lyrica, you're gonna get a little loopy.
Wow.
I got to get going in a minute. I got a date with a Philadelphia 76ers. They're up for. They got a playoff game starting right now.
Oh, the playoffs. Playoffs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're down 3-2. They were down 3-1 at overtime. Brought it back to Philadelphia, and I'm trying to get excited about it. I'm not really. I mean, I kind of am, but I'm not.
Real quick, I went to the Bar Association meeting today. The Community Health Law Project and the State Bar Foundation and Association were there, and they had to talk about homelessness and how having a roof over your head is part of healthcare. Because if you have a roof over your head, you're more likely to go to a doctor for something, rather than if you're homeless, you kind of wouldn't want to go to a doctor. And that was a whole conference about that. It was pretty amazing how that they put that as part of healthcare.
Who is this? Who?
The New Jersey State Bar Association, the Bar Foundation, and the Community Health Law Project.
That's because the homeless population is a big part of healthcare.
Yeah.
They eat up everything. They do. Not that I ever cared. I let people sleep in the waiting rooms, when I was covering ERs. But yeah, it's a big deal. It really is. And homeless people have no mailbox unless they're little bougie homeless and they have a post office box. But where are they going to get their mail, right?
Right.
So they don't get any checks. They don't get any money. They don't have any insurance. They don't have any identification. So they're a whole fucking thing on their own.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. Amazing. I'll tell you more about it next time. Okay. I want to thank CMMNJ, CannaSense, UFCW, JacksonStorms.com, Smoking Monkey, Arlo Glass, OprahMachine.com, and SativaCross.org, where you can donate to our organization on the shop page. Actually, on the first page now.
And if you're on Facebook, Sativa Cross 501c3, you can have a register Facebook for a fundraiser where people can say happy birthday to you by donating to Steve Cross. I had my birthday fundraiser for it, and my brother had it for it. It doesn't raise necessarily a lot of money, but put that out there.
Yeah,
look for some Facebook fundraisers.
It helps.
So, I was born on Halloween. Do you think that would happen? And I'm serious. I really was.
A Halloween baby. That doesn't even sound right, does it?
I seriously was.
A Halloween baby. Wow.
How do you celebrate Halloween?
Like any good Greenwich would.
You like double celebration. You must go all out on Halloween then.
Yeah.
I can imagine. I can't imagine. As a kid, I'm sure it was crazy as a kid. You're having your birthday.
No. Because when I was a kid, we all just took our little sacks, whether it was a pillowcase or something, and we went trick or treating. There were no Halloween parties or anything like that. Jim, right?
It was all about, and it wasn't just trick or treating. It was
lighting fires in the middle of the streets.
How fast can you get from door to door for me? Not running across lawns, going back out the driveway, and then running all the way up to the next door, getting there just as somebody else was. One time in Plainfield, I was with my brother. He was like 3 years younger, and a girl, bigger, older, went running by and grabbed his bag. And I chased her down, telling her, I'm drop you like sack potatoes or whatever I was saying. Better let go. I'm catching up. And she let go. But yes, it was all about trick or treating. And actually, when I was first getting high, I was 18 then. It was Halloween, and I thought I'd like some candy. So I got a bag, a sheet, and I don't know if I 2 holes, and I wasn't even home. I was at somebody's house, and a lampshade. So I'd go up when there was like little, try to get, and I'd get on my knees and shrink real down. I had a bright flashlight, so it looked like a lamp, and I'd be holding it. And I'd get whatever candy, and then 6 feet of me would stand up. And
you're out of your mind.
Wow.
I came back with candy. I was a hero. You had to do it. We were all just getting high and wanted candy. I guess so.
With the lampshade.
Yeah. It worked,
good. That's good. I like it.
Yeah. Nobody yelled back. I mean, people laughed. They felt like it was a costume, and there is no age limit. And I didn't say I was a little kid,
Okay, you're gonna have a surprise guest next week, okay?
Oh yeah.
I love surprises.
Okay. Yeah. Surprise guest.
All right, fun's over. Here's the list.
Okay, go.
Our list begins with Cheryl. We all know Cheryl's story, and I'll just say again how she inspired me to learn more about cannabis, because I thought cannabis just got you the munchies for cancer patients. I thought that was it. But when I saw it for myself, how her arms went from uncooked spaghetti to cooked spaghetti, just from like rigid to loose. And wow, I didn't know. I was ignorant. And I'm not anymore.
I was blind, but now I can see.
I was ignorant to this traffic light. I was just talking about this. The traffic light on Avenue C. I fought for 4 years for that light, ignorant of the fact that we needed a talking traffic light, because I didn't know about these talking traffic lights until Jimmy said to me, "Hey, Lefty, you got that light on Avenue C. Can you get a light on Broadway that talks?" I said, "What's that, Jimmy?" He said, "It's a light that goes wait, walk." And man, I can prove my ignorance by showing this Avenue C light. I worked 4 years for that light, and I could have got a light for Jimmy there too. But now I'm going to try to get those retrofit. I want to get grant money to get these retrofit because, you have to have grace with people. I'm realizing that more and more because, people are ignorant till they're not. And if they're willfully ignorant, that's different. But most people just don't know. They're just ignorant of things. And I'm very guilty of that for a lot of stuff. So got to give people some grace, including myself. So,
Well, if somebody is ignorant of something, it's those who could have taught them better but didn't that are pretty much at fault. That's what we do. Ignorance is no excuse.
yeah. Sabina Rose was a 15-month-old baby who died from a 25-hour seizure. Can you imagine I can't imagine having a 10-minute seizure. A 25-hour seizure, a little baby.
I can't imagine being Phil or Joanna.
Yeah, Phil and Paula.
Paul, I'm so bad with names. Yeah, I can't imagine what that would be like as a parent. I mean, I have no kids, so I can't imagine all sorts of stuff. But that,
What a choice! What a choice the government gave that family. They said, here, you can either wait, like the traffic light, wait, or you can give your kid cannabis illegally, and maybe the protective services will come, take your kid away, put him in a foster home, and then they'll probably kill your kid. What kind of a choice is that for a parent to make? You want to give? It's like, terrible. And she died waiting. She died still waiting for her cannabis. She was weeks away from getting her card. Governor Christie's regulations made her wait to get a psychiatrist to approve her. Like, what's going on? I mean, this is how far we've come, but
yeah, we've come a long way.
We've come a long way, but this is the stuff that was in the wake of this.
This happened. Yeah, we didn't come a long way without coming there on the backs of others,
suffering and dying.
That you read this list.
People ask me why I do this because of this list. There's people, my friends on this list that suffered and died. Diane, Gracie, Cindy Mae, Marie, Jack, Joan, Randy, Polly, Bill Buckman, Chad, Jeremy, Colette, Matt, Troy, Russ Perry, Roger Barber, who was he fought for his daughter to use cannabis in school.
Well, which allowed all the others there who would do that, that were patients also. And he got it done first in New Jersey. No other state you could do that on school grounds at that time. New Jersey was first for something good. Yeah,
that was first. J.R. Leto, Ella Bagelman, Hattie Koshel. I know you like this story, but my grandma was suffering with an infection and she was in pain. So I would fill up a vape bag full of cannabis and drive it from, I think it was here, down to Spotswood. And I'd bring it to her and I'd be like, come on, Grandma, we're going to test your breathing now. And she would breathe it in and she liked it. And every time I'd go there, she would get a breathing test. And then one day I didn't give it to her in time. And she's like, where's my breathing test, Edward? Here it is, Grandma. I got it right here. She was like asking for it. I never said what was in it. She didn't know, but she knew.
Yeah.
She knew. It helped her.
Yeah.
My life went full circle this week. Speaking of my grandma, my Aunt Helen lived across the street here, and she was a shut-in for 40 years. She never left the house. And I used to go over there every day after school and get a sandwich and sit there with her when she would chain smoke 3 packs of cool cigarettes with her little prayer book in her chair, which she'd never get out of. And I would lay there with her, and we would watch The Magic Garden. And it was amazing because I realize now why my aunt never left the house. I didn't think back then why she never left the house. That's just the way it was. But there was nowhere to go. Even the churches weren't accessible. There was no stores in the neighborhood that were accessible. Nothing. It's all steps. And it was 10 steps to go down to Avenue B. So I really had a moment when I met them the other day, and they sung a song for Sativa Cross. And I told Carol I had a crush on her. And she grabbed both of my hands, and we had a moment. And then Paula looked at me. She goes, what about my hand? And I grabbed Paula's hand. But I never left Carol's gaze. Just saying. Just saying.
And how long ago would this have been?
A week ago.
No. How long were you?
I was 10
living
years
at-
old. 10 years old.
And how old are you now?
I'm 56.
Okay, that's what I said.
Jim, you didn't see this? I watched it. You have to. You have
No,
to.
so I saw him sitting between. I didn't know what the sound guard.
You absolutely have to watch it.
There's a song. There's 2 songs. They
I watched it a couple of times because I was like, oh,
Oh, I love the video of them on each side, and I've already described how
it's touching. It really is.
It was great.
Yeah, but
We'll
the
touch
look on his face was that of, your best friend, dog, pet.
Yeah.
And the dog goes like this.
Oh man.
It was like that was him.
Yeah.
It was which you could tell just
You're
by
like a little boy.
just by the look how involved it was. I watched that several times.
One of the best moments of my life, because it was like 3 days of emotion for me, because it was life full circle, because I kept thinking about my Aunt Helen and watching her and all the stuff I do now, and I'm like, man, wow.
When I realized who you were going to see, and it's sort of like, nah, I'm not going to see William Shatner. I want to see.
No, I went to go see them, and
I'm not going to see Eddie Munster, the guy that played him.
No, Eddie Munster, Cindy Brady. No, I no. The only other person I wanted to see was the punk rock band guy. His name was Lee Ving from Fear. So a punk rocker and Carol and Paula. What a mix! It was crazy.
Yeah, where was that?
Parsippany Hilton.
Okay, yeah,
it was cute. That's pretty good. That was cute. That was really cute. It was special.
It was a very special moment in my life, and I'm glad you could share it with me, because it was like, man,
you started to get that look again. And you're a little person in
puppy look.
I'm still checking my phone for Carol's phone call. Carol, hit me up. Okay, we're at Grandma. Where's Grandma on the list here? All right, it's my grandma.
Yeah. Thanks for breaking that list into.
We always do this. We always break the list up somehow, and it's
too much at once.
It's too. Yeah. Jackie Rickard, Anthony, Jake, Armando, Alicia, Lynn, Dan, Sean, Joyce, Lori, Frank, Brian, Cuprien, Flo, Carl, Thorne Peters, Frank and Lorraine, Terry Harris, Charlotte Figgy, Cher Ford, McCullough, Jay Bird, Michael, Marley, Colette, Brendan, Red, Rico, Lulu, Becky, Lawanda, Chip, Paul, Lisa, Jeff Oakes.
Yep.
He was the original president of Sativa Cross. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that.
We weren't official yet. But the reason why we started it was because me and Jeff were at the State House, and Iliud Gaultier walked up to us. The guy from the Licencia de Conducir. Remember we shared a permit with them? So he was always very cordial with us. And he came down, he sat with us. He said, hey, you guys should start a PAC. Really? And we were convinced we should start a PAC, and we started doing this. And we're like, no, we can't do a PAC. It's not going to work for us. That's not our thing, and too much money. We said a 501c3 would be great. And that's when we started it. And we started having these little meetings together. And Jeff was the first president. I was vice president. I think I was like treasurer or something. And who was vice president? I think it was Tracy.
And what are you now?
I'm treasurer. I'm treasurer. I'm still treasurer, and I'm very happy. I'm very happy being treasurer.
I know. I just wanted you to say it.
I was something else, though. I think I was historian. I was way in the back. I was just trying to, and so this has been a long journey for Sativa Cross as well. I support legalization of cannabis too, so I like that.
I was just playing with the backgrounds. I didn't know I could do that. That's cool.
That's very cool. I like that one.
Yeah, that's a keeper.
Yeah, it's definitely a keeper. That's a go-to right there. Well, thanks everybody. Jim, you wanna take us home with the ode?
No, I do it at the same time, like singing a song with somebody, but
Okay.
not, you know,
Okay. So
we shall not grow old. We shall not grow old. Somebody shouldn't grow old. Shit!
we shouldn't grow old. We should grow weed. We shouldn't grow old. We
Shit!
should grow
That's what
weed.
I'm
Okay, good
talking
night,
about.
boys. I will
Good night.
let you know who your
Good night.
surprise guest is. Okay.
Thank you.
We
Good
will
night.
be
All right, talk to you.
surprised.
Talk soon.
They went with songs to the
Love you
battle.
both.
Love you. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady in the glow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them,
nor
nor
the
the years
years
condemn.
condemn.
At the
At the
going down of
down
the
of the
sun,
sun,
and in the
and in the
morning,
morning,
we
we
will
will
remember
remember them.